Hello, and welcome to the Comic-spiracy, episode 181 for the week of October 27th, 2014. Happy almost Halloween, everyone. My name's Ryan Higgins, who is here with me this week.
No, it's Bryce!
Oh, it's Bryce.
The other B person. And Charlie, the C person.
Toby, I don't know where he is. He's hopefully on his way.
Brock will get here eventually.
Brock had last-minute family stuff, had to come, couldn't record last minute, so hopefully Brock will be back next week. But we have a special guest this week. Why don't you say hello?
Hello, this is Michael.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
Good. Excited.
You are one of my customers here and a fan of the podcast, from what I've been told.
I am a big fan of the podcast. It gets me to work and gets me back home.
Excellent. I like to hear that. Now, you've been a customer here for quite a while, and I bought like your comic collection a while ago.
I bought about 12,000 books.
Yeah.
In credit, and I think I've basically given you all that money back.
That's the way it works. As you, Scott, we had Scott's been on this podcast before, one of our longtime customers here.
We miss you, Scott.
Yeah, he maybe listening to this. He had to move real suddenly, so he basically gave me like 30 long boxes worth of stuff, and it's like, yeah, it very quickly adds up and quickly goes away. But we try to find good homes for this stuff.
It's because they don't want your storage to go to waste.
Oh man, that storage unit. Well, Michael, you actually have an interesting history in comics that none of us do. We've obviously owned the store, worked in the store for a long time, stuff like that. We like to do your comic secret origin.
So I have three weird ways that I got into comics. When I was about in 1982, I got the book I brought in today, the team up between the Uncanny X-Men and the New Teen Titans.
Now, is that your actual...
This is the actual one.
Nice.
And if you look at it, it has like the taped together pages.
Of course.
Because it's been going back and forth around the world with me like all the time.
That's how it should be.
This is I can't buy another copy. This is the copy. From Fat Moose Comics and Games in New Jersey, who was a place I kept buying comics until I moved to Germany. And there, buying comics was very, very weird. And it's funny listening to Toby.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the X-Men, they have Grupa X. Uh-huh. And I was like translating comics for a while until I found out you could sneak on the army base. And they had all of these great comics.
Nice.
Sneak on the army base. Don't tell anyone.
No. Well, you didn't, actually. If they checked your ID, they would kick you out.
Okay.
And so you'd find people who had IDs or military families. You'd find people who had IDs or military families. And then you'd go and buy the comics that they had on the shelves. And they had a weird assortment of like ElfQuest and comics in general. But then I came back to the States, and I worked at Heroes World Comics and Games.
That'll make it easier.
Oh, there you go. And they were the distributor for like the whole East Coast.
Well,
for a while.
That was my thing. Is you actually worked on the distribution end, right?
Yeah. So I saw like when Image #1 came out, like the first. Was like Youngblood and Spawn, and they had cases and cases of books, and the death of Superman, and the stores would come, and they'd fight over who got the best condition box, and holograms and magic, and it was a very neat time to buy books, because basically I just got 300 or 600 books a week.
Nice.
And my boss would just sort of put in my car, and say, go home. So I got to read everything. It was really cool.
Jeez.
And then sold it to you.
Yeah. There was like giant stacks of some Valiant books in there, I remember.
Oh, yeah. And there were like multiple copies of all of those, like Barry Windsor Smith gold foil covers.
It's good stuff, though.
It was good stuff, but I mean, it definitely did not. The speculator market was huge back then.
Yeah. Well, that was, I've told the story before, but Death of Superman is when I started working in a comic store. I was like, what would I have been, like 13 years old or 12 years old or something like that, and just helping out the guy. I mean, I knew the guy, it was Paper Heroes in Andover, Massachusetts, and, I had just helping out all the time, and just I was a kid, and I was like, hey, I'm here all the time. Like, do you want me to help work? Because you're being bombarded with like 1,000 people trying to come in. And he's like, yeah, help me.
So I got the job because I started as a janitor because I didn't want to flip burgers. And I stayed because they found out I knew the alphabet, which a lot of the people there didn't know really that well. And
Toby.
And they needed extra help. Over and over again, and then I just sort of stayed in like 8 years for a long time.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. But
so did you stay in comics? I mean, because again, the story is always go to college, go to high school, drop out, come back years later.
I stayed in comics, and so that never stopped. And I stayed in weird comics like Kamiko and Bill Willingham and all the First and the Badger and those independents that I wish you guys would talk about more. Actually, I don't know if any of you guys read those or not.
A lot of that was
weird
just
period that came and went.
A lot of that mid to late 80s stuff was, for me at least, a little before my time. And then I've gone back and read some of them. Like, I've read some of the Rocketeer stuff. Just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it came in. By the time I started college, The Sandman had just started coming out. And that was getting its sort of its underground buzz. So it was very cool to be into comics at that point. And then it just got bigger and bigger.
I'm still trying to track you down a run of Nexus.
Yeah.
I'll find that one day. Yeah. It's hard finding that stuff in any sort of complete run, I think, because you had this kind of first post-Turtle speculation market. It wasn't the 90s speculator market. It was that early mid-80s speculator market, which was sort of that first big boom of the black and white and indie comics. And again, what happened in the 90s, same thing, was people bought a shitload of a handful of issues and then they all just died. Yeah. So you can find the first 12 issues of Nexus everywhere. Finding 13 to like 70 or whatever it went to, it's like good luck, because who has them, right? Or who kept them? So,
but I studied comp lit a lot, and so most of the people in my classes, they loved comics.
Nice.
And so it worked out really well. So I never stopped.
Cool. What are you reading these days? You're reading a lot of trades these days. You get a lot of classic stuff.
I read a lot of digital that you don't see that I read.
Oh, that's true.
I actually had a problem with that where I spent like way too much money on digital because you can't tell you're doing it.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of Hickman. I read a lot of East of West.
Cool.
Oh, that's a great book.
Yeah, isn't that a good book?
Yeah, that's
God, it's
fantastic book.
So I read a lot of weird independent stuff. Anything Matt Wagner puts out. But I'm also reading the Avengers stuff, and you turned me on to Daredevil and the Frank Miller pieces, and I'm reading a lot of what you guys talk about on the podcast, which makes me worried how suggestible I am.
Well, we don't talk about nearly enough. So.
Yeah, so I'm still all over the place, and occasionally with the digital stuff. What was that one with the guy who looked like Simon Pegg? It was like The Guys.
The Boys?
The Boys,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll find one of those and then buy like the whole series and then realize I'm up at 4 a.m. and I've spent way too much money.
Nice. Do you generally like the digital experience over the single issues, or is it just a space issue? Or?
It's space.
Yeah.
I love the physical book. It's space. So now if I buy a book, it's generally something I want to share with my wife, or something I want to read with my kids, or something I really like a lot. But the space, you just run out of space so fast.
You don't have to tell me that.
But then I regret it. You have the digital and you reread them, and it's nice when you travel, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm in the market for a new tablet so I can get back to reading digital.
Yeah.
Did your kids drop it?
One of my kids, when he was having trouble getting it to turn on, kind of like forced the button down to the point where it like bent the circuitry underneath. So it will.
So he just rage quit.
That's not good.
So that tablet kind of died abruptly, but that's what Black Friday's for.
Got it.
Well, it's cool to have you on. We're going to talk some random stuff. Feel free to jump in with anything. I guess I don't know where the hell Toby is. He could talk about this stuff if he gets here later. We have to talk about the Avengers trailer. So,
oh my god!
So,
yes.
Avengers: Age of Ultron trailer hit. It went up Wednesday. Just leaked, and people were freaking out. And I don't know if you guys saw.
And Marvel said, "Damn it, Hydra," and we all applauded.
Marvel's genius tweet of "Damn it, Hydra." And then they just put up the full trailer.
Oh, that's what they tweeted?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. And then they did pull up the full trailer, the full high-def trailer right away, which is like, I guess the stuff that's going to be on S.H.I.E.L.D. tomorrow for us, so Tuesday, is a different scene. I don't know if they changed it. I don't know if it was originally supposed to be the trailer, and they just said, fuck it, we'll just put something else up instead. But they're going to have other footage during S.H.I.E.L.D. as well, which originally, I believe it was supposed to be the trailer. But, Bryce, you have not seen this trailer because you are worse than me when it comes to not watching trailers.
Yeah,
but,
or better, depending on how you look at it.
That is true. But do you mind if we discuss this trailer here?
I would love it. I don't mind. I just don't want to see the images. You describing it won't do justice anyway.
Okay.
But I know about the spoilers for the Avengers trailer, by the way, in case anybody's crazy as I am.
Yeah, big spoilers.
But there's a Hulkbuster armor. They show Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and there's the Pinocchio theme song, if you can call it a theme song, and that's about all I know. But it doesn't matter because as long as I don't see the images, none of it's like spoiled for me when I see the movie.
The Shield.
And awesome narration by Jim Spader as Ultron.
Yeah. I was curious about how they were going to pull off Ultron. Ultron is more human looking than I expected. He doesn't have quite the same those like pointy ears and like that jack-o'-lantern face. I mean, the main
but they got the eyes down.
Well,
they really got the eyes down.
The Ultrons, the guy, like all the, I don't know, what do you call them?
The blue,
all the random Ultron guys that are running around, they all look maybe a little more traditional.
Yeah. Whereas
what I'm assuming is like the Prime Ultron looks a little. He doesn't look. I don't want to say he looks bad. He looks fine, but he does look markedly different from the more traditional Ultron character.
My interpretation of it is you're going to see a few different versions of Ultron as it goes on, as he adapts and evolves. And
that very first shot they show of him. That first shot of him where he's basically like the busted Iron Man suit and he's doing like that zombie walk, and that was legitimately creepy as hell.
But there's no Pym, right? So is Tony, like, did Tony make the Ultron? That's what I read somewhere.
Yeah,
the first teaser for Age of Ultron that they had at Comic-Con last year was basically and this is now online as well. This leaked a while ago. It's an Iron Man helmet, and it sort of turns into Ultron's head as the logo pops up. So most people, it's easy to assume that it's like a corrupted Jarvis program or it's something else he created. So, which I'm totally fine with.
They've already shown he's dabbled in AIs, and that's kind of what gets Ultron started. So,
well, and Ant-Man in the Ant-Man movie is not Hank Pym either. Hank Pym is being played by what the hell's the guy's name? I can look it up here. But it's not Hank. It's Scott Lang is going to be the Ant-Man from the Ant-Man movie.
Yeah, I was curious how they're going to deal with the fact that, like, he beats his wife, and that is exactly why they're not going to have him in it, and they're not going to have Scott Lang be the main character why they're not going to have Hank Pym be the main character, because that story has ruined that character forever. Just like Speedball in Civil War, my favorite Speedball.
I think slightly differently, Ryan.
No, Michael Douglas is Hank Pym.
I just think that not as many people care about Speedball.
That is correct.
Is the Speedball thing serious, or are you joking?
No,
I can't tell if it's an in-joke.
No, Civil War ruined that character forever.
No, but you really like Speedball?
I love Speedball. Yeah. He's like my favorite non-character named Morpheus.
I do. I love
That's what I didn't know. Okay.
Well, I love
and
Speedball.
Cable. More than Charlie.
And we're back, everybody.
Cable could have been cool.
Cable's awesome.
What do you mean could have been?
I especially love a lot of the early stuff they did with Cable, and every once in a while, when they give him a clear mission, he's awesome again.
Oh, it's just hijacked, by the way. Yeah, Cable's awesome.
Yes, Cable is phenomenal.
Speaking of Cable being awesome,
speaking of Age of Ultron, it features no mutants and more than likely 2 Inhumans. By the way, 100% guarantee the end of this movie is them calling Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver Inhumans. No doubt on my mind.
You think they're going to wait till the end of the movie for that?
Just like there's no doubt in your mind that this one will gross more than Avengers 1?
I never said that.
That's exactly what you said, actually.
No.
Yes.
I said almost. I said every Marvel movie grosses more than the previous. I don't know about Avengers.
You have implied quite heavily that Avengers 2 will make more money than Avengers 1.
It's possible.
No, that's
but
not
Avengers 1 was on such a crazy level that I don't...
Okay, can somebody that's listening to this please prove me wrong? I'm pretty sure that Ryan, couple episodes ago...
Retro conspiracy, go back and listen.
Ryan said...
I'm just waiting for somebody to edit together all our past episodes of just Ryan talking about how much Avengers 2 is going to make.
I have no recollection of saying Avengers 2 is going to outgross 1. Is it going to be huge? Yeah.
No. You said that it wouldn't. You said that...
that it would not outgross 1.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's totally right. I don't think it's going to. I think Avengers 1 is...
Dude, I think you're so wrong still.
Okay,
good talk. So...
I'm with Brian on this one, by the way.
Well, you're also wrong, but
Sorry,
it's okay.
sorry,
I have 3 wrong people at the table.
Sorry, I thought you said that I
didn't say what I said. I just said what I think he said himself.
Any event.
Anyway, so, Ant-Man, Hank Pym is Michael Douglas. But no, I think that ruined that character forever because everyone feels the need to bring it up, and if you ignore it, it's like, whoa, it's the elephant in the room. I hate that, and I wish they would just banish that from ever happening in the comics because it really ruins that character. It's always the focal point of Ant-Man. To the point where I believe 100% that's why he's not in the movie.
There's not a lot of character
I don't disagree that that's why he's not in the movie, but at the same time, I don't think they necessarily shy away from it. I just feel like they don't want to explore that in a movie, because I mean they have explored it in like the direct-to-videos and
well, of course, whenever Hank Pym is in
Mightiest Heroes,
right,
and,
whenever Hank Pym is in anything, it's about that storyline, which I think is why that character has been forever.
That's the most interesting storyline he's had, right?
But
I mean, Iron Man's done all of these things, and people think of him as more than an alcoholic. Hank Pym, besides beating his wife, I mean, what else has he done that's been really interesting and worth talking about?
Created Ultron.
Yeah, but like that almost seemed like an accident. I mean,
it was.
well, it absolutely
but that's
was.
what I'm saying. Like character-wise,
but
He's done two things as the character.
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing with Tony Stark. They have one story arc where he's an alcoholic, and in a similar fashion, that is forever. And it's a negative connotation to the character. And they kind of got around that, at least with Iron Man, for the most part. They sort of haven't touched on the alcoholism in the movies, and I think the character is stronger than that. No, but I think you're right. Ant-Man is defined by that because he doesn't have great story arcs about him. But I think you can never do anything with the character because that's always a story people are going to go back to.
I think the thing is with Iron Man. Sorry, go.
I was just going to say, the thing I kind of like about him as a character is he's a very mentally unstable genius, meaning he does have accidents like creating Ultron and stuff, but he also has all sorts of identity issues and everything else, going from Ant-Man to Giant Man to Yellow Jacket to like
Yellow Jacket.
Remember Avengers West Coast? He was the guy with pockets.
Yeah,
like a
I
villain.
mean, that's
but I guess my general point
the
is I do kind of feel like in general there is more to that character than that, and that whole story arc is almost a symptom of other deep-seated issues within the character.
And I think it's just more than they want to deal with
in
the movie.
cinematics, because you have a finite amount of time to tell the stories you want to tell. So I don't blame them for shying away from things that you can't adequately cover in a 2-hour movie that you can't explore with the proper
they're
depth.
packing a lot in that movie. There's a lot of characters.
Always packing in
There's
massive
a
amount.
lot of characters in that trailer.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to the trailer with like the Hulkbuster armor and everything like that, I'm uber excited to see it, but at the same time, I don't feel like it needed to be in the Age of Ultron movie per se. So
I think
I think there's a lot of things where they just kind of go, we're going to write up here on the board the stuff people are dying to see, and we're going to figure out a way to work it in.
Well, what's wrong with that? I mean,
No,
which is fine.
It's fine, and it gets me excited when I'm watching the trailer and whatnot. I always kind of feel like there's
It's weird with Avengers 2.
an interesting balance between working stuff in because the story demands it and working stuff in because you feel the fans demand it.
So I think the people who aren't fans have talked to me about the trailer, and they said they've got mecha in this movie. And so they don't even look at it as, they don't know what Hulkbuster is, and they just look at it as, oh my god, this is so cool. They've got like they don't say Robotech, whatever the one is today. So it's just cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely cool.
There is a lot of talk of Thanos apparently not even being an Iron. That Avengers 3 and 4 are Civil War. Remember we were talking about that Captain America. The Cap 3 is the lead into Avengers 3 and 4, which is Civil War. So like,
wait, I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm curious.
Did you say Avengers 4?
Yeah, Avengers 3 and 4 double part is, again, Oliver Romero, of course, but that they're even dumping Thanos from Avengers 3, which is like the whole point was Avengers 3 was Thanos. So it's interesting to see Marvel shift their stories as they go.
Just before we get too far down that rabbit hole, yes, rumor. Yeah. The whole point.
By
the whole point of Avengers 3, you mean I had absolutely no idea, and nobody does.
Well, early on, people at Marvel had said, we're not going to see Thanos in 2, but he's going to be in 3. And
the only response I really have to that...
But it's never... I mean...
You said people at Marvel
at Marvel said, but that doesn't make it official, of course. Because these things always
what
change.
they're not mentioning is they're just going to have an Infinity Gauntlet movie that's going to happen to have the Avengers in it also.
It's very possible. That's actually totally possible.
They're actually going to have... A series of movies called Infinity, and Ryan's going to go out and get popcorn through half the movie, and he's going to get back and be like, this is so confusing. I don't understand what's happening.
Nice callback. Anyway, that trailer was fucking amazing. Scarlet Witch looks cool.
It's the shield. You got to mention the shield.
Oh, yeah, the broken shield at the end, which I'm hoping for that 90s energy shield, the hero's return. Yes. That was good stuff.
No, that'd be too cool.
Well, that appeared in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes animated also.
Yeah.
Yes.
That Shield's cool stuff.
Yes.
But Ultron, man.
It's like everything Ryan wants from the movies exists in animated form already.
Oh, I've seen these.
Except for Speedball.
Show. But man,
Has Speedball been animated at all?
Nope.
No. Can't be.
No, I don't think so. Rumor is he's going to be in S.H.I.E.L.D. this season. From one of the actors, he posted something about Bobby Morse and Robbie Baldwin in S.H.I.E.L.D., and then it got pulled. So it's possible because Bobby Mockingbird was in this last episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. So,
yep.
But yeah, Ultron looks awesome, and that Pinocchio part, I actually haven't seen this, so maybe not because I always see this crap. But I figure there are people out there pissed that they're using like a Disney song in a Marvel movie and Disney quote in a Marvel movie because look, Disney, too Disney-fied. They're going to ruin the movies because that's what fans do. Fans hate Marvel being owned by Disney. So I hope not. I'm assuming it's not going to be awful. It was a great song in the movie and a really great quote. So,
yeah. And in general, all it did is put a giant smirk on my face while watching it. So.
James Spader owned the last line.
Yes. Yeah. As I said, James Spader is awesome.
Yeah, no, it was super good.
Sex Lies a videotape.
And if you like that quote, you should go to
it's really good in Blacklist right now.
You should go to leannehill.com. My wonderful fiance Leanne, who made a great print, a nice little mashup Disney Marvel print there. Speaking of Disney invading Marvel, and you can go buy that print on there of Ultron being controlled by Stromboli. The evil bad guy from, I guess, evil bad guy.
We're not controlled by, you mean?
Oh, we're not controlled by Stromboli, correct?
You're welcome, Leanne.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's actually a really cool print.
It is.
Yeah, she has a lot of really cool prints.
She does. LeanneHill.com. Go buy some of those. Anyway, that trailer was fucking awesome. Since we didn't get any sort of like real teaser, I'll give it one more trailer, but then I'm out. So we'll see what the next trailer brings. I'm sure we got a little bit of time. A rumor is that we may be seeing Justice League. Superman v. Batman. Batman v. Superman: Dawn of Justice trailer.
The next Batman movie
in front of The Hobbit in November. So we shall see.
I love Batman.
Batman's great.
I'm actually just wondering if they're just going to play what they showed at Comic-Con and call it the first teaser.
It's supposed to be very Batman heavy, is the rumor. That would make sense.
Yeah. Hashtag spoiler alert. Hashtag sarcasm.
But more Marvel movie news. By the time you hear this, more than likely this will be official. Although today, as official as anything we've heard, the one and only Benedict Cumberbatch is being cast as Doctor Strange.
It's like unreal. Like, as a joke, if you were to say who's like...
It's perfect.
Who would you love to be cast as Doctor Strange? Like, you would jokingly say Benedict Cumberbatch because it's too good to be true.
It is as good as Robert Downey Jr.
I was just about to say that. It's like when everyone said Robert Downey Jr., you're like, no way.
That's perfect.
The world is too stupid to do something that right.
Yeah. Now, again, as I like to point out, this is also a rumor, not official. They said they're in final negotiations, which means nothing. Remember Edgar Wright was directing Ant-Man until he wasn't. But rumor is tomorrow, so they were also going to announce Doctor Strange being played by someone else. I can't remember at Comic-Con, and that was all official until it wasn't and never happened. So did I talk about this a week or two ago? There's this great page that goes through and talks about every
Joaquin
casting.
Phoenix.
Yeah, was it Joaquin Phoenix? Yeah.
Yes, it was.
About every actor that was rumored to play Doctor Strange and how like it has gone through every single person and just kept this chronological list. I want to do this for every movie ever because they're always like 1,000 stupid things. So tomorrow when this doesn't happen, I want people to laugh at me and tell me how stupid this podcast is for saying this is official. Because
well, didn't you just say it's not official?
I guess, for implying that it may be official.
Usually I call you out on that, and I'm not calling you out on this time because I want it too much.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I definitely want it too much, but at the same time, I'm also doing the fun of, as long as it doesn't interrupt filming more Sherlock.
Oh, interrupt all that garbage you want. I don't care. Sherlock's not that good. Sorry.
I thought that Sherlock was... They're not done with that?
No.
My bad.
I want Doctor Strange way more than I want more Sherlock.
Yeah, me too.
And they announced that they're going to be doing a fourth next year. supposed to have like even a Christmas special.
So if you had to choose, would you really pick Sherlock over Doctor Strange?
Yeah. What,
seriously?
Are you crazy?
Sorry, let's wander. Let's wander in the fourth dimension here for a little bit. But this season of Doctor Who has been so abysmally terrible, especially this last episode, that I don't want these guys involved in anything else ever again, including more Sherlock. So we don't have to talk about that.
There you go,
now.
Charlie.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about it because you know this is going to take over the podcast.
I could say you don't have to reply. We can just move on to the next subject.
Yeah.
But Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is...
If you want to hear my response to this, tune in this week to Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension, where I will make sure I have a response to Ryan's statement on this podcast.
And I will have a counter in the Geek Box tomorrow, so...
Your hand was shaking when you said that.
Yeah, he's so angry.
He's so mad.
You wouldn't like him when he's angry. So are we talking about Cable still?
No, let's talk about a good character. Let's talk about the Constantine premiere this last week.
Dude,
Did you watch that?
That's like the biggest 180 garbage segue ever. We go from Cable to Constantine?
Did you watch that?
No.
Are you going to watch it?
I'll watch it after I'm done watching Flash and Arrow and Gotham.
Okay. Now, Michael,
By the way, I was pissed. The preview of it, I have seen the preview of it because it was incidental. My wife watches The Voice. Wait, was it the full? It doesn't matter. But there seems to be tons of magic being used. But for the book club Constantine, that is the only Constantine that I've read, he did next to no magic.
Well,
WTF, mate?
Yeah, well, that's Constantine. He's not like a magician everywhere. He does some small spells.
I could swear
and
I saw him throwing fireballs. He looked like Ryu mixed with like my Mage of World of Warcraft.
No, I mean like that trailer thing has him like holding fire, but that's just that's
what I'm
not
thinking
in the episode. Yeah, but no, I mean sure he does some levels of magic, and he's like he kind of sets himself up in the first episode as more of a like a demonologist is not the word I'm looking for, like an exorcist basically, but it's just kind of part of what he does.
Let's get this over with so that we can move on to Cable.
The way I look at Constantine is he innately has a certain amount of magical skill and whatnot, but he's more about equipping himself with the tools he needs to get the job he needs done, even if it happens to be your immortal soul.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've
while he kills everyone around him all of the time.
Well, that was, Michael, as a big Alan Moore fan, as I'm sure is a big Swamp Thing fan, Constantine, I mean, you're
a genius.
Yeah, are you going to watch the show?
I'm with you, or like everyone from Britain who writes comics is generally good in my book.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think
my God.
I can't watch the show. I have no TV like stations on now. I watch them like 6 months later. So I'm watching Arrow season 2 now.
Nice.
And loving it, and basically got into it from the podcast.
Cool.
So I'm waiting for Constantine as soon as I can get the DVDs or something like
Constantine is on Hulu. Right
is
now.
it on Hulu?
Yes, it's on Hulu.
Okay, so I'll be watching it tonight.
No. Nice.
live, as they release?
As in like the next day kind of thing.
Yeah, you wait a week or something, and you put up with like 2 bad commercials over and over again.
Nah. Well, we won't totally spoil that.
No, spoil it away, because it's based on the books anyway, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So I didn't watch this like I did the Flash trailer when it leaked. And I know they did change some stuff from the leak to the actual aired episode, because they did change the main actress in the episode. She's in this episode, but she's not going to be in the next episodes going forward. So this is kind of like a little one-off pilot to start, and then the new actress that's going to be the main character with Constantine starts next week. But I thought this might be near perfect. This felt so much like Constantine to me. I'm not going to say it's better than Arrow and Flash, but it felt more like the comics than Arrow and Flash.
Does it feel different than Arrow and Flash?
Oh, very. I mean, it feels like the source material. That's the thing.
So it feels really messed up.
Yeah, Gotham.
Wait. What channel is this on?
It's on NBC. Yeah. Same time slot as Hannibal. Hannibal is maybe the most fucked up show I've ever seen on TV. It is so gory and graphic.
See, I have a hard time arguing with you on that, because there's so much about Hannibal where you can't. Yeah, it's a great, phenomenal show, mind you.
There is a scene in Hannibal. This is broadcast TV where a guy is eating his own face. Okay, you see him eating. I mean, we're talking like Walking Dead and beyond levels of gore.
It doesn't matter what station or network you're on anymore. I mean, it's
isn't that totally inaccurate? Like
NBC. Well, Gotham shows a lot of shit for 8 o'clock on Fox.
Yeah,
like Gotham has had like some pretty gory deaths and lots of killing and some pretty fucked up stuff. So obviously these lines are starting to blur as people stop caring, I guess, which is great.
Well, they want people to watch the show, and everyone's now used to Game of Thrones or whatever's on HBO this week.
Right.
Or True Detective, and like after that, how do you get freaked out by like 21 Jump Street?
Well, I mean, the only point I would bring up about that is you still have to fight the public's expectations versus what you deliver, and the only reason I bring that up is before talking to me about Gotham, my boss tried to show it to like one of her kids because it's Gotham, it's Batman, it's on at 8:00, and yeah, she didn't show her kid more than part of the premiere episode because it became very, very clear very, very quickly this show is not kid appropriate. Now, mind you, I turned around and told her, so just show him Flash. Flash will be fine.
Yeah, totally.
So a large part of it just has to do with the...
And then you got fired.
No,
I'm just playing.
Not so far.
Dude, Lego Batman has a lot more stuff going on in it than I expected.
You know,
it's a good show, but it's got a lot going on
Batman
for a kid.
Special on tonight. I'm excited to go home and watch it.
Yeah, it's a new short. Is it a short or a half an hour?
It's a half-hour special called, like, Beleaguered or something.
Nice. But, we're only one episode in. I feel stronger on this than I did Gotham one episode in. Flash and Arrow were special to me. But this, to me, felt as close to the... He doesn't smoke, at least in the first episode. That doesn't bother me the way it bothers some people.
I watched Supernatural when it started, and it was really good. And it's got to have a lot less like script and story and plot. Like Constantine, everything about Constantine in the books was cool.
Yeah.
There was so much stuff to talk about. It was so messed up. You'd go home and you'd sort of look around you and you look at the world differently. I can't imagine they could screw it up.
Well, what's funny about Supernatural is I've never seen it, but I know multiple people that have watched it, and I've watched it. And they said that the pilot of Constantine felt like a really good episode of Supernatural, which is funny because Supernatural is basically ripped off Hellblazer for a decade, right? So it's like it's this very kind of circular thing we got going on here. So people, if you like it, if you didn't like it, let me know. I've heard mostly good reviews. I've heard good reviews from people that don't like Gotham, Arrow, and Flash. So this may just be hitting a different demographic. I don't know.
To me, Constantine is one of those weird... So when Arrow premiered, shouted from the rooftops to everybody I knew, they need to watch it. Where there are still people I'm going to be telling, you need to watch Constantine, but it's definitely not the kind of thing where I'm going to push it on the broad audience that I could push Arrow and Flash and even Gotham on.
I think Constantine is going to be the secret best of the five. Not kind of
So is it present day or is it in Maggie Thatcher's England?
No, it seems present day.
Okay.
But I think it has. We'll see where it lines up. But I think just quality wise, I think it has the potential to be the best of the kind of the five network comic shows. So we'll see.
I've seen the commercials. It looks good.
Yeah. We'll see where it goes.
So coming at it from an Entertainment Weekly reading only perspective, they seem to like, for anybody that cares about what non-comic nerds sort of think about it, if you can use them as an example, they love The Flash, and they say that Arrow is probably second best, and then Gotham, and they haven't weighed in on Constantine. Although you bring up a good point with Margaret Thatcher, because so much of that book was because of the time that it came out in. So I wonder how that'll come across, and his smoking, like, I guess that doesn't bother me, because you have to consider what TV is like nowadays, and it's just not as accepted. And even though it's such a big part of his character, it's like, look, what are you going to do? But
when they had the nightclub and the yuppies and the demons and the basement of the club and the odd like sexual violent consumption and
book club, by the way, people, you should be listening and reading the book club.
It just was. It was such a response to what people were dealing with and looking at the time, and it was fucked up. It was really good.
Yeah.
Well, we got one quick news story here. Then we're going to do some book club. Then I think we got time for a couple of questions. Toby was supposed to have book club today, but he's magically disappeared. Maybe he didn't pick his book club pick.
Or maybe Constantine did some magic. Maybe. Oh, wait, he never does magic.
Oh.
No, sorry, just...
Isn't it falafel? Like, you guys normally say he comes in late with falafel?
Just that one time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's running really late now at this point. At this point, he's not coming, unless he shows up for the last 5 minutes. So, there's been, a lot of cancellations throughout the years for comics, and Bleeding Cool, actually just prior to recording this episode, put up something that they're... well, let me start this over. Bleeding Cool, contrary to probably what we think, actually does run stories by Marvel and DC before they publish them, just to make sure that, hey, we don't want to ruin anything horrible in case you got plans for this, but, we're going to run it either way. And they said they received no pushback on this, so they're running that X-Force, All New Invaders, Elektra, Secret Avengers, and Captain Marvel are all being canceled pretty soon. No surprise from any of those books.
Right. I mean, if you are reading Marvel books right now, Marvel books... Oh, dude, speak of the devil.
Oh, it's over here?
So if you're reading... Oh, now he's gone. So if you are reading 6 or more Marvel... If you're like, if you're a Marvel reader, if you would call yourself a Marvel reader, if you were to get a list of all the Marvel books being pushed out right now, and you had to pick... how long is that list? Is it 8 or 6?
It's like 6,
3,
right?
4, 5. Yeah.
5.
X-Force, Invaders, Elektra, Secret
That was more than
Avengers.
5. Okay. If you had to pick 5 books that were going to be canceled and you had to guess, you would probably be 80% right. You probably guessed one of the Ultimate books, and somehow you were wrong. I don't know how those books are still going on.
They have a thing on the Ultimates called Ultimates The End, which is coming up, which hopefully means the end of the Ultimate Universe. And then Toby. And then Toby is here. And then She-Hulk, I think we talked about last week, was canceled as well. So, yeah, these are all make perfect sense as to why they're ending.
It's like they have their, 60, 70% that will never die, and then they have, the rotating other percent.
Yeah, and that's, we're going to get this all the time. Savage Hulk will be gone, and Spirit of Foes is already ending, and, Surfer will last for a while. Punisher will probably get axed. The Avengers of the World will get axed. Black Widow will get axed. It's just the way comics work. So.
Surfer better last for a while, damn it.
Will is Slott staying on it?
I'm more interested in if Allred's staying on it. As long as Allred's doing the book, I'm kind of okay.
Well, we're going to go and just do our book club pick here because I want to make sure we have enough time for that. And then we'll do some questions when we have time. Because we got a bunch of questions. So, but... Bryce, why don't you introduce your book club pick of the month?
All right, so I would like to... Sorry. I just want to say that this book, I sort of already said in the earlier podcast when I announced it, sort of what I think about it. There's not much to it. You have to keep in mind when this came out, a lot like Constantine, but in a totally different way. When this came out, Brubaker was, the industry veteran, and Matt Fraction was this...
I would disagree with that. Can I tell my story,
and then you can disagree with me like I always disagree with you?
Okay.
So, Matt Fraction is this, young, hipster, up-and-coming writer. Was he already living in San Francisco? I guess he always has been living in San Francisco, in or around? Yeah? No? Okay, maybe
he lives in the South.
Well, nobody's perfect. So, I'm just kidding. Anybody that lives in the South, you're probably awesome. But he was an up-and-coming writer, and David Aja was, not well known either. I would say that Fraction and Aja were not nearly as well known as Brubaker, and even Brubaker hadn't even yet done Cap, which I think put his name on a lot more stuff than it had been before. And if you've read any Brubaker, you can see the Brubaker in here. And if you've read any Fraction, you can see the Fraction here. There's a hilarious thing that I saw in one of the early Hawkeye issues. I'm sure everybody else has seen this. If you're reading Hawkeye, David Aja draws him the exact same as Danny Rand, and there's something in the first...
Very similar, yes.
Yeah, there's something in the first issues about they ask Hawkeye, they say are you the Iron Fist or whatever, and it's I don't know if that's tongue in cheek to how he's sort of a B-list superhero, B-list at best, or if that's play on the whole David Aja drawing him, but. Anyway, it's a great story. I said it in when I was warming up the book. There's enough occult, dark, sort of graphic noirness to the story that Brubaker brings, but enough hipness. Danny Rand is a lot like the Hawkeye book now, where he's sort of a young upstart. And he's still with it. He's got his hip heroes for hire friends in the middle of the Civil War, which is funny that the Civil War really penetrated this book as much as it did. Not that it was a lot, but that was really cool too. The art is incredible. It was great to reread Aja not really nowadays his stuff with Hawkeye is very, I don't want to say formulaic, but you can sort of see a page and you know that it's David Aja, whereas this older stuff, it's just like any early artist where you're sort of seeing them find their footing. It's great. I loved it. I would give I would give this. Oh man, I didn't think about the score. I would probably give this 8.5 or 9. So I'll say 9. Yeah, I'll say 9 Bryces. I'll give this 9 Bryces.
Have you read this?
Yeah, I've read on digital. I've read a lot of it.
Nice.
Here. You want to see this or not?
I do want to see the book.
Yeah,
I want to see the book. I want to see the book while you guys talk about it. Do you want to?
I want to look at the book again before I talk about it.
Oh, okay. Toby, it's your turn. You got a minute and a half to talk about Iron Fist. You get a chance to finish the first arc yet? Or read through it. What do you think?
Why do I only get a minute and a half? Bryce just got 7.
I'm just saying.
You're never fair with me,
talk
man.
as much as you want.
No, that wasn't 7 minutes.
He just never fair with me.
You want to see me talk about 7 minutes? Can we talk about Cable?
He's like, we got a minute left at this point.
Talk as much as you want.
No, I enjoyed it. This is actually the first time I ever read anything Iron Fist directly. I mean, I always saw him in other books, and he's always part of other books. So I always knew of him, just never actually read about him. So this is the first introduction to him. So I actually kind of wish I knew more about him. So going into it, it was really interesting seeing the history of the Iron Fists, all that stuff. I really dug it. It's kind of weird because I remember reading Hawkeye, and it was all right for me. It was my style, and I loved the Brubaker Captain America run. So for me, this book is literally like in the middle of the two. It's like there's stuff I like that's similar to the Captain America run. There's stuff that's very similar to the Hawkeye run. So it's literally in the middle for me. So I only read the first 6 issues, which was what was required.
Yeah.
But I feel like the first 6 issues is like a massive first issue, if that makes sense.
It's like one big story.
Yeah, but the first 6 issues feel like
the setup.
It's like part 1. It's almost like I just read the first issue. Okay, now I'm actually getting getting to the good stuff. So
it's padded stories for the comics.
Yeah,
right?
but I think this is more so. I mean, he meets the other Iron Fist and stuff like that. This feels like issue 1 in this grand scheme of things. So I'm really looking forward to it.
It really
is.
It's the first fourth of the story.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to actually continue on. So I have to be honest, if this was a book on the shelves, I probably would have never read it. Even flipping through, I probably would have. Even if I read one issue, I probably would have continued it. But as a trade where you could just flip the page, I couldn't put it down actually. So it was pretty darn good.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Were you done? Okay. So just real quick, I just wanted to add that or corroborate. Yes, I totally agree. Like if this was a book on the shelf now, like if they were unnamed artists or unrecognized artists, like right now, what are those 2 books that we like? Black Widow and She-Hulk. If they were allowed to continue. I guess they're totally different stories, but it's the same type of great collaboration between writer and artist. I also didn't know much about Iron Fist other than this story because there's not much out there, and I can imagine like a monthly Iron Fist book probably was. I don't know how it was on the retailer side, but I can't imagine it was selling well at all, and it's almost too bad because it is like the first story is like a good first issue because it sets up this lore. Like in those first 6 issues, you have more lore for Iron Fist than you probably did in all the other stuff that he's ever had ever. And that's just in the first 6 issues. And then they go on, since they're able to keep the writer-artist combo, they unravel this huge, background and lore that makes him sort of like Frank Miller's Daredevil or Frank Miller's Batman a little bit. And, a little bit magic, a little bit ninja, a little bit American Warrior, a little bit 70s blaxploitation, whatever thing going on with the Heroes for Hire side of things.
A little bit American Ninja from the 80s. No, I'm just a joke. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit Super Pro. No. So anyway, so it is like the first piece of the puzzle, and they go on to, if you keep on reading, they go on to unravel this whole thing, and it's like there's so much Iron Fist in this collection that you just don't see coming, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. This first story, and they do such a good job of showing you the rest of the iceberg. Anyway.
I will also recommend this to people that enjoy the Alex Maleev Bendis run on Daredevil. It has a similar kind of feel to this.
It
too.
feels a lot like Daredevil.
Yeah. So I really recommend it to the guys that kind of like that kind of stuff. So I truly enjoyed it. I wish I liked the character more because I still don't know him. I mean, I know that I basically know about him through those 6 issues. That's basically it. So I'm actually eager to continue on. So I'll give it actually 7 out of 10 Bryces.
So I had
It'll probably go. Sorry, Charlie. It'll probably go up once I continue. I'm actually fairly certain of it. This is just the beginning of it too.
So I had actually read this before it was Bryce's book club pick, but I had read it based on the fact they put out a nice oversized hardcover, and I knew Brubaker, I knew Fraction. It was just sort of a no-brainer for me to pick up this book, and amazingly enough, it was one of those books I picked up and actually read instead of just keeping it on my bookshelf for when I have time to read it.
Yeah.
And yeah, once I got started on it, it hit all those notes that kind of work for me. It had sort of the long, drawn-out sort of mythology as you got into all these different versions of Iron Fist over the years, how they utilize that power differently. And in that way, just to kind of pull into parallels where other people might, it's got very much like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer kind of thing, where there's typically only one Iron Fist. They all have different personalities, and when you get a glimpse of any of them, you kind of want to know more about that particular version. It's very much that way because they all have their own different personalities. They utilize
Green Lantern does the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say Green Lantern might be more appropriate than Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
But Green Lantern's more than one at a time.
No, yeah, that's the thing too. There's a continuation.
It's the idea of basically having this massive legacy going back and having such richness in each version of the character that they're not interchangeable, and the fact that they do a very good job of explaining why there are 2 in this first story and how sort of that legacy got broken in a way that it shouldn't have. And basically, having read comics as long as I have and been immersed in various TV shows and stuff, there are almost every kind of element that tends to really, really drag me into these stories. The idea of a tournament that's held after X amount of years and bringing forth your champions, like all of that just speaks to me. And the way this presents itself with a character that literally I bought this book based on the writers, not based on the character at all. And I didn't regret it for a second because they made this character as good as any other character out there for me. And that's pretty much as high as a praise you're going to get from me on any book, is if you can take a character that I was not engaged with and write him so well that I am now completely sold and happy with that character. And when the new Iron Fist book started, this is the run that I held it up to. And I've been somewhat critical on it because I kind of feel like they don't delve into the mythology in the same way that this book did enough. Still, that's the only reason I care so much when this new team started, because I already had that ingrained love for the character from this run. So I would give it 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, for it's kind of like Thor God of Thunder for me in that regard, because the exact same thing. I bought it for Jason Aaron, Asada Ribic. Don't give up about Thor. But picked it up and haven't been disappointed. And so yeah, it's the same.
So, I'm sorry, I'll let you go.
Oh no, it's just one probably not the last thing that I want to say. So the story is called Last Iron Fist, which I was like, oh, the Last Iron Fist story. That's kind of a cliche name for a story, kicking off a new comic line. I didn't realize that it could have been interpreted until you're a couple issues in as, do they mean last, like the previous Iron Fist, like the last Iron Fist? Because it's really a story about Randall Orson just as much as it is about Danny Rand. So I thought that was a little clever. Like, I thought that it was just going to be the cliche, oh, the last Iron Fist. I'm sure it's the last Iron Fist. Oh, did they mean the last Iron Fist? Like,
yeah.
So I love the character, and I've always liked the mythology part, the Kunlun, or however you pronounce it, and the fact that, every kid wants to, disappear, go to some magical, mystical place, kill a dragon, get some magic powers. Who adult doesn't want that?
And
I still want that.
This is something from not knowing the character as well previous to this book that really stood out to me, because while I knew he had some sort of power within his fist, I kind of thought it was more in terms of the idea of intense martial arts training that allowed him to access his chi and whatnot. It wasn't.
Yeah, me too.
It wasn't sort of this supernatural side that this book presents.
There's a bit of a Batman, like, you could do this too, which is kind of neat. But I love the mythology side. I used to love the book called The Badger, which is another martial arts book that I think is the only other martial arts book as good as this rendition of Iron Fist, which I thought was pretty cool. I did not like it when he got out of the Myth series. Is this the one where he's a president of a company or something, or is there another one?
No,
Maybe I get confused.
Yeah, it's Danny Rand. It used to be when he used to fund Heroes for Hire and all that.
I never liked that part of him, but I bought this digitally and I just looked at the book. The art is a lot better when you don't have the digital copy, so it looks worth picking up.
It's weird how some books look phenomenally digital, better even than print, and then some books don't so gorgeous in print it's not even funny.
And
really?
Yeah.
They don't do like high-res scans?
No, it doesn't have to do with the scan. I think it has to do with there's a certain sort of flatness art, canvasy sort of painting sort of thing to this book.
Yeah, I think it's the color choices.
And I think the color choices have a lot to do with it. And I didn't like Hawkeye at all. I never got into the Hawkeye thing. I thought it was kind of...
You should be sitting next to Higgins.
Well, it's just a little... It just seems a little forced. And I thought this one, they were just having a lot more fun and figuring things out. So that's it.
Yeah, when
what's Charlie Hustle's score?
Charlie gave 9.
9.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You did say that. I'm sorry.
You just want me to repeat it. That's perfectly fine.
No, I'm sorry. He did say that.
When Hawkeye came out, the new Hawkeye by Matt Fraction and David Aja, I was so excited because Immortal Iron Fist is, I don't know, one of my favorite Marvel comics ever published. Yeah, hands down.
Wow. New Warriors,
I've never been more let down in a book in my entire life than the current Hawkeye series. I think that is one of I can't stand it. It kills me. I've read 2 or 3 issues, and every time I'm like, no, I don't even. I'm done. Because to me, it is so disappointing, and clearly means Brubaker was the driving force behind Iron Fist. Because with 2/3 of the
way to throw creators under the bus.
With 2/3
of the talking about it has to be that. It can't be that the writers changed over the course of the 5 years in between.
Oh, it's possible. Fraction is super hipster and just
way more
awful.
now than he was.
Way more. Yeah,
dude, you're crazy. Keep going, but you're crazy.
So, here's the setup. Okay.
Oh God.
It's mid-aughts. Brubaker has come over from DC to do some work at Marvel. They ended Gotham Central because he left. He's off the bat. Was he doing the Batman or Detective? He was doing one, and Rucka was doing the other. I can't remember which was which. I think he was doing.
No, Rucka was doing Detective.
So Brubaker was doing Batman. Fantastic stuff on those titles. He comes over to Marvel, and this is a pre-cap, like you said. For about a good 10, 12 years, there was very little I was reading from Marvel, or very little I was enjoying, I should say. But I really like Ed Brubaker, so along comes Immortal Iron Fist. And I'm like, I don't know who this Matt Fraction guy is, I don't know who this David Aja guy is, but it's Brubaker, so I'm totally going to read this. I don't really care about Iron Fist. I've read books with him before, I like him. First issue, blown away. I'm like, holy shit, this is I was reading the Annihilation stuff, I think had maybe just started, or maybe he was about to start. Cap hadn't started. I may have been reading no other Marvel, or not purchasing any other Marvel book at this point. So when this came out, again, I was like, holy shit, this is by far the best. And I will say that this is one of, if not, this is one of the best Marvel books I've read in my entire time reading comics. I would say it's definitely one of the best Marvel books since the turn of the century.
Holy shit.
Yeah, totally.
What?
I think this is what it is.
Get me hard over here.
Marvel had a great 98, 99, Heroes Reborn, Kevin Smith, Daredevil. You had a great little resurgence there for a couple years.
Wait, you're saying since the turn of the century, since 2000?
Since 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I thought you said century, and I'm like, what?
Turn of the current century. So you had some really good stuff at that point.
We're 14% of the way through, though, so...
To me, you have the Grant Morrison New X-Men X-Statix, X-Force/X-Statix stuff. And then there's nothing till you hit Iron Fist and Annihilation and then Cap. And to me, this is there. This is one of, if not, I wouldn't say it's the best, but it is easily one of the best Marvel books. David Aja, again, I don't know what happened. His Hawkeye stuff is fun, but it's goofy. It is, I don't want to say it's serious in this, but it is more raw. There's so much more energy in his art in this stuff. and it's not a comedy. It's not weird Hawkeye faces covering his dick or
Hawkeye
whatever.
just seems like a bunch of stills, and this feels more like things are moving. That's what I don't like about Hawkeye. I just felt like it was a lot of like snapshots.
Totally. I will go back to the scene. I think it's in issue 5 or 6 where he kicks a guy through a train as like this very vivid scene of you see the animation from animation quote unquote from panel to panel as it scrolls down as he just kicks these guys through this train and like into the thing, and it's just great stuff. Really good humor, really fun stuff. This is Brubaker. Maybe it's a little bit of fraction dialogue mixed with Brubaker plot and characterization. So maybe that's kind of more fractions.
Probably how I would guess it.
Yeah, sure, his addition to it. But I haven't liked the stuff I've just done as much as I definitely haven't liked the stuff Fraction's done as much. Brubaker's still awesome. He's as good as he ever was. So, but this to me,
God, is Brubaker from England? You are
no, he's not. No, he's not.
That's
no,
crazy.
no, he's great though. Brubaker is by far one of the best writers in comics.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. But man,
okay, I mean Cap. I mean his run on Cap was.
You're just having trouble not disagreeing with Ryan. I can see you sitting there going like,
"It's eating
no,
me up
damn
inside.
it! Why can't I do?"
I need some Constantine.
I think
help.
in general, Brubaker's okay. I think he's uneven. I think some characters he's really good at. I mean, I thought the Cap stuff was good for like a few issues, but I
think it's the best. I think Cap might be the best comic Marvel has published, maybe. Period. Like,
have you read Simon Spurrier's
modern?
X-Force? no, I'm sorry, I couldn't. No, I couldn't. I'm 100% kidding.
Cap
it's
to
terrible.
me works on a level that very few comics have worked on before. I mean, I would say kind of modern Marvel. It's like Grant Morrison, New X-Men, Cap, Annihilation, Guardians, Nova, like that batch. Those are the top 3. Iron Fist is probably top 4. So to me, those are my Marvel comics, and I think this is beyond must read. This is essential for anyone who likes comics. Even if you don't like superhero comics, I think there's so much in here with the mythology of
especially if you don't like superhero comics,
Kunlun and Iron Fist and the background. And again, you have Luke Cage and you have Heroes for Hire, and there's some super kind.
You think this was better than Weapon X?
Like the Barry Windsor, like the Weapon. Well, I'm talking like modern. I mean, do I personally think it's better than Weapon X? Yeah, I think it's way better. But I like Weapon X.
Okay,
but to me, this works on a much better level. But if you go, 1990 to current, to me, this is one of the best Marvel comics published.
Holy shit!
So you go prior, you go 80s and earlier. I mean, it's just a different feel during those times. So
your score.
I mean, what do you give one of the best comics? 10 out of 10?
Woo!
I would give this 10 out of 10 Bryce's. I cannot recommend this book higher enough. I love this book.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then
to me, this is like
iffy 9 to a confident 9.
This is the all-star Superman of Iron Fist. Okay, like if you
means nothing.
If you have to pick the Iron Fist book, if you have any interest in this character, this is beyond the. I mean, this is the book to read.
That doesn't mean anything, though. This is the only Iron Fist. I mean, there's
not had that many books.
The current one that is like 4 issues deep.
The other Iron Fists are a pretty
is
far cry from this book.
Yeah.
That
for Halloween, I'm going to go as Luke Cage with the tiara. It's going to be incredible.
It's no blackface. So,
is that bad?
Yeah, generally.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I love this book. I love this book so much.
Wow.
Thank you for picking it, Bryce.
Oof.
See, I occasionally love Marvel comics.
Well, last week I agreed with you on a lot of shit that I probably regret, even though I don't remember. This week's your turn.
Actually, Toby,
what?
Were you able to pick your pick since it is your time?
Not thought about it at all. So, Charlie, if you have a pick, you go on.
Way to put Charlie on the spot. Charlie, do you have a pick? If you do, we can do it.
He does.
If
Look
not,
at that face. He totally knows.
If
Doctor
you
Who,
do,
the trade paperback.
No, I'm actually thinking about just picking the...
Well, while you think of it really quick, I can tell people about our Patreon at patreon.com/comic-conspiracy for people that have backed us at one of the top tier levels in which you do get sent the comic pick of the month. We actually are reversing from what we said in the previous episode. We will send you the upcoming month's book. Starting now, I'm going to get the book choices from guys a little bit earlier than normal. So, Toby, if Charlie's picking now, you got to give me your pick so I can make sure the books are here and everything. So if you go to that page, you can donate to this podcast.
We started talking about the Patreon, as I said. I noticed everyone pulled out their phones. Are you guys donating here on the podcast?
They should.
To the podcast?
No, they're just so bored. They're just.
I'm donating. Okay. I'm donating to the other guys in the podcast.
Checking their email. So as little as $1, you can help support this podcast. Starting next week, we will have our first paid month. So we will be reading all your backer. Give you some thanks to the people that that backed, and then some shout outs to some high tier guys. If you are at a higher tier and we owe you like basically like an advertisement shout out, make sure you reply and get me your info so I can make sure we thank you on every episode next month. And you still have plenty of time. You still have a couple days to back for the November kind of stuff. So, Charlie, you seem like you've made your pick.
Yes.
And I knew this was coming.
I actually wanted some input from you real quick.
Yes, they're all in print. I just
coming
reordered
from
them.
Ed Brubaker and Grant Morrison.
No.
Oh.
But the question is, so the first one contains the first 3 stories and is priced at that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my choice is Black Sad, the first hardcover from Dark Horse. It's a beautiful hardcover. It's actually a imported comic, so it gets translated and imported to here. It's a very, very awesome noir sort of comic series, and it the way I kind of describe it in a lot of ways with the art is it feels like Disney animal creatures with sort of very, very expressive and all that, but it's sort of a hardcore noir story.
It's like a murder mystery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think Knights of Wungador. That's for my Marvel brothers and sisters.
Jeez.
But they're awesome.
But,
anthropomorphic animals.
It's.
Are you reading New Warriors?
Yeah, that's why it reminded me. I'm sorry, Charlie. Go ahead. It's
But
so bad.
it's definitely
worst.
sort of a sort of hardcore period piece. It gets into sort of like racism and that kind of stuff, just in the way that it's told. It's a fantastic book, and that is my pick.
Cool. We will we'll have some time to read that. And it's good because it's kind of more graphic novel than collection of comic single issues. So
Yeah, I've never actually heard of this before, but just since you just brought it to the table, looking through it, the art looks incredible.
yep.
Yeah.
So
It's,
I can only hope it's as good as the Fraction Brubaker comics.
Every once in a while, they still put out new
are
stories.
they
Like
Danish? Is it? I can't remember where they're from.
Well, by the way,
Where the creators
as a
are from.
Larsen, I can tell you that the best people are Danish.
All right. Well, we got a couple quick questions here before we wrap up. I'm gonna get at least one of these Patreon ones and then one Twitter one because we don't have too much time left. I guess I'll ask this question before I ask the question. Did anyone read Memetic #1? Did you read that one, Charlie? I didn't get a chance to. James
No.
tie-in. Okay.
Wait, is that pronounced Cable and X-Force?
No.
Sorry, keep going.
All right, here's one from Matt. Are there any comic book characters you would like to see get their own video game? Obviously, the Batman Arkham games have done very well for Batman fans. It doesn't have to be an Arkham-like game. I would love to see a Suicide Squad strategy game by Firaxis, the guys who did the XCOM reboot, which I tried XCOM. I'm not good at those type of games. I just couldn't get into it.
Look, everybody deserves a game as good as the Arkham series.
Yeah,
and
totally.
the first in line is Cable. I'm just playing.
I'm just having fun going, I'm just not going to disagree with Bryce tonight.
Look, seriously though, Death of Wolverine #4 was such a letdown.
Oh, jeez. You were not here to talk about Death of Wolverine #4.
Oh, you guys talked about it last week?
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
listened to the podcast.
I'm
I'm
such
going to
a
listen to
giant
the podcast.
piece of shit.
Wait.
No, that's a way too strong exaggeration that's not that strong.
How could you be surprised it was a letdown? I mean, were you waiting for it to be a good book?
Because 1, 2, and 3 were actually really
I know.
good.
I heard that, but you knew it wasn't going to
look
end
at the
well.
cover of #4. It's like so much more epic than it turns out. Okay,
Very
look,
shiny.
Can we get back to that in just a second?
Yeah.
I just want to say, Cable would do awesome in an Arkham game. He's got enough rogues gallery. He does. You could just do anything you want with that. You could like equip him with all crazy types of guns and whatever. Like I just want.
Do you have Cable as like a Borderlands style? Like
I don't know.
Oh,
Borderlands, but
that would be epic.
Actually, you know what? Cable with the time traveling, like Ratchet and Clank and some of those other games where you go back and forth and see him as a kid,
Yeah.
Ocarina
and then
of
with his
Time.
parents and
Yeah.
powers without powers, and then strife, and you go crazy.
dude,
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time, Cable,
Yeah.
Zelda, in the field cutting down flowers with your sword or the grass or whatever.
Worst.
Zelda.
I think
or
Constantine
Link.
would rock. There's a lot of those like scary horror games like Dead
Yep.
Space that can actually make you freak out and
yeah.
jump out.
I could see that. There's
Suicide Squad's the obvious choice, though.
well, that would work such as just like a great like first person kind of third person shooter
What's that
like
toy game though? Where
Oh,
you put the
Infinity.
toy. Yeah.
Have you
So
tried that
Suicide
yet?
Squad.
Oh, Black Friday.
I don't know them.
Infinity.
Yeah, and so having all the characters, I think would be really cool there.
Oh,
No,
dude.
in general, that screams for any comic book character, and I'm doomed. So, yeah. No, I buy all various video games that come out. And yes, I remember how excited I was when Cable was in the Marvel vs. Capcom games. And
yeah, he's the best. Yeah.
Never getting away from Cable.
Nope.
Dude, if his face wasn't right there. By the way, I'm so excited that it's getting canceled. I actually, I don't remember the last time I didn't subscribe to an X-Men book, but I'm not buying that because I do not want to give it Simon's.
Really?
I have bought every X-related book from you as long as I can remember. I turned off my subscription to or that whatever the Simon Spurrier one is, X-Force,
yeah.
because it is so terrible. Like Cable has never been British before, but if Simon Spurrier is writing him, he's all of a sudden British. It makes no sense. And can we talk about Death of Wolverine? I don't know what you said last week, but it was like that cover belies such a better story than what ended up happening. I love the fact that it's that what's his name against the sea? The professor, the dude with the glasses.
It's Cornelius or something
Cornelius,
like that.
that's right. I love that, but like it could have ended in so
Hugo Strange.
So much. Yeah, he kind of was or is or whatever, but like. Oh man, what a letdown! And I feel like that pose that Wolverine dies with at the end is just
so bad.
It's just like, well, no, I think that it's overused. It's great because he looks just so defeated.
Yeah.
But I think that because it's such a great pose, he's done it before. Like, I don't know. I have to double check House of M. At the end of House of M, when he regains all of his memories, like, isn't he doing the exact same pose, or he just looks like defeated and he's just sitting there with his hands and claws like on the ground? I forget exactly what happened, but I'm sure that pose has been used over and over to death. It's shocking how they're going to bring him back to life. They're going to find a way to put the healing serum because he's been sealed in adamantium. By the way, how is there so much adamantium? Adamantium used to be the coolest shit. It was like
really rare and hard to find.
So rare.
He's got like a giant vat of it in this episode.
It's exactly like DC did with the kryptonite, where it's like you used to be this totally rare thing, and yeah, he's got this vat of it. He's pouring it on cereal.
Did you see the reflections from the creators at the end? And the letterer has a lot to say.
Yeah, he's probably saying this is a piece of shit. So, anyway, how they got so much adamantium at the end of Axis number 1? The Red Skull's busting out Sentinels covered in adamantium. What the f is going on? Where did all this adamantium come from? I'm not surprised at all because I'm sure that the 90s had even more adamantium than this. But look, the series was great. The first 3 issues were great. The ending wasn't even that bad. It was just like such a like
bleh.
Whimper. Like it went out with such a whimper. It was like, oh well, that. Okay.
Well,
that's too bad.
Before we wrap up,
wait, was that the video game answer?
Oh,
well, the video game answer is apparently a Cable video game. So.
Constantine.
Okay, I'll take Constantine.
No, this is what I want. I want a God of War video game starring Thanos. And I want to run around and I want to beat the shit out of everything as Thanos.
No,
Avatar of Death, and you are killing everything.
GTA as Thanos.
Ooh, GTA is Thanos.
In space?
In
where
space.
You can go around grabbing spaceships and going to another planet, destroying the planets.
As your side quest, you have to kill all your sons. Dude, brilliant. Book it. Market it.
I'll allow it.
Sell
I'll allow it.
I'll buy it.
Well, we got a question here on Twitter from...
only if I can get the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, dude, that's another side quest.
From
if you can't get the Infinity Gauntlet, I don't want a Thanos.
But you have to like log in on like high holidays to get the gems. Yeah. By the way, can you tell just?
We have a Twitter question here.
Okay,
from Tilimtor, who's written us before. However, we're not answering it because I just want to tell him. He asks, "What's our favorite comic of 2014?" Which is not Marvel and DC or Saga, but
it's Cable.
Apparently, Cable's not by Marvel anymore, but. We will be answering all that in our end of the year wrap up episode, which we do every year. So look for that in a couple months. So not to dodge your answer there, but we'll have a nice big wrap up end of the year. We always do these.
Okay, in between questions, can you speak just 30 seconds on how Ramita and
I've only read the
Superman has done?
Sold?
Yes,
or
done. Just sold and story content.
Sells well.
Really?
I've only read. I'm a couple behind. Yeah, it's not top DC book, but it's it's good high mid tier.
The Iron Man book that you said was the best book ever. How did that sell?
Iron Fist.
Oh, sorry, Iron Fist. I apologize.
Probably not very good.
Yeah,
I can look
longer
up numbers,
than most Iron Fist series.
That's for sure.
The top Iron Fist series ever.
But the question we're going to answer, this is from Timothy on Twitter. He says, "What's the most expensive comic related purchase you have ever made?" He says comic related, so that doesn't necessarily mean a comic.
That's weird.
I don't know if you want to quite get into
like
numbers.
A single issue or omnibuses?
Comic
related content, so that can be video game, that can be statue, that can be
comic related purchase.
Uncanny X-Men #1. Thank you, Scott. Love you. Miss you.
My answer would actually, outside of the store, I mean, I guess that would be my number one because I clearly, but Avengers, also from Scott, would
Scott,
be
come back.
Not only Avengers 1, but it was like 18 issues, or no, it was like
it was single purchase.
It was like 8 issues of Avengers plus upgrades on a couple. So that was my.
Ooh, I got one.
Including 1, 2, and 3.
Mine would have been Daredevil number 1 if Scott would have sold it to me.
He got it graded. He's probably got it sitting in the garage. So yeah, but obviously the store would be my answer for that. So. Charlie, it's got to be that Wolverine hardcover. Is that your biggest?
The problem is,
or no, that Cable statue from.
The problem is,
oh yeah, the statues.
Do those count?
Of course,
sure, it's comic related.
But I didn't spend any money technically.
It's a close.
But you worked for it.
Yeah.
You got it was that not Sideshow. It was the Kotobukiya.
The Bowen.
Was it the Bowen?
Yeah, it was a Bowen Cable.
I thought you got a Kotobukiya one too. No.
Well, I got the Kotobukiya Iron Man and various other Batman and such. But but I did get the Superman vs. Darkseid. That was also up there. But I think the Cable is still more.
I'm sure.
Things keep getting more expensive.
Actually,
so
Toby,
it's always
like
the latest one I buy
now. So,
Toby, your answer should be every other year's trip to Comic-Con because every year is probably more expensive than the previous.
No, it's actually been going down.
Well, with travel and hotel costs.
Yeah, but
and all
it sounds like
stuff.
Comic-Con would still be a good answer.
Comic-Con would be near number
1 year, at least.
Yeah. I do have a story, though. When I was in high school, I went to Legends before I started working there, which is a local comic book shop, not this one. And Gambit was my favorite character, and Gambit's first appearance was on the wall. And as a kid, $40 was a whole lot of money for a book. And saved like there's no tomorrow for that stupid damn book. And I actually eventually went and bought it. Didn't know about sales, so I was a stupid kid that were like, I'll pay you $40 for this comic book. Only to end up working at that shop for one of the managers or one of the guys at Price Thing. So, hey, I heard you like Gambit. I got one here. You can have it for $10. I'm like, dude, if you only known how hard I worked for that one issue before I started working in this store.
I was a George Perez fan, and I don't know if you remember he did the History of the DC Universe after the Crisis thing.
Yeah.
He had a hardcover that was like $30, and I did not have the money, and I saved up. Yeah. And I went to the store, and my dad saw me at the store, saw it's $30, and he's like, you are not buying that book. You don't know what $30 is like if you're going to buy that book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm buying this book. He's like, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
And, I actually was thinking about it this week and just like pulled the thing out, and it's a fucking gorgeous book.
There you go. Nice.
And that was not the most money, but at that time it felt like truckload
exactly.
of cash.
I'm assuming your largest purchase is your Comixology account probably at this point.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I don't want to think about that. It's a lot. It just racks itself up there.
Because it's $1. It's a couple bucks.
It is. You start clicking away. Click. I mean, like the FF run.
Yeah.
I mean, you just keep going, and it's not $1. I mean, like you can spend like $200 and not know it.
Oh yeah.
My issue is just when they run sales because it's always like, yes, buying one issue is very affordable, but when you're buying 50 of them, 100 of them, it's like, yeah, that was not in my budget right now.
I have to say though, it's I think it's the first that you remember. Like the Gambit first appearance, my first time buying a wall book. Right, it was a lot of money for me. Then.
Oh yeah, the first wall book is a big deal.
And then for me, the first we call omnibuses now, but that was before they call them. Was the Avengers versus JLA, and it was like I think $100 hardcover or $75 hardcover.
It took me forever to finally break down and get it just because of the price per issue.
That was like George Perez drawing crazy Avengers on JLA on the covers. Hardcover was a done deal for me, but again, $75 or $100, whatever it was crazy amount of money for a book for me, right? So it was Gambit to a single issue. That was a book where I'm like, and after that line's been broken, now I'm like, Wolverine the X-Men, $100, well, whatever,
It's weird as an adult,
Yeah.
because you can just come in and you plunk down cash, and it's just, they don't quite mean as much.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's different.
Yeah, it is very different now.
All right, you can all spend way too much money at the store if you want. I don't mind. We're going to wrap up now. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you, Michael, for coming out as well. I hope you had fun.
Is this like stocks? The more comics we buy, the more of the store we own, and eventually we could take you over, like in the Iron Fist story?
No.
Oh.
We're all Hydra.
Yeah.
Well, if you buy enough stuff, if you ever open a store, you might actually be able to fill it with stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Therefore,
right
you
door.
could take it over.
Have them be our wall books, and then we sell out in the first sale weekend. And
have you I'm sorry, just listening to how you talk about the store and you talk about like the financial side and all the way that you buy books.
Yeah.
You don't overorder books, and then you look at all. I can't imagine just how many stores go out of business, or just the thought of like what it takes to keep it going besides the comics. I always thought like, I'd get a bunch of money, I'd get some real estate, I'd open a store, it'd be a lot of fun.
It is,
and then I hear your side of it, and it sounds.
It is incredibly nitpick's not the word I'm looking for, but it is incredibly like adjust by a copy, adjust by 2 copies. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. That is this job, literally in some cases, because you're dealing with so much product. So little amounts at the end of the day. It's not like you're getting thousands of copies and you're selling 2 items. It's like you're selling 1,000 items and you're selling 2 copies of everything, right? So it's like that level is a very delicate balance, and I check it every day and adjust. A guy drops a book, adjust. A guy adds it, adjust. It's just constant back and forth.
The way I look at it is, from an outsider, it's very easy to just look at new books came out this week. What you're not really realizing is how far in advance you have to order those books, how much the industry has changed to allow stuff like FOC and whatnot. But at the end of the day, there are still items that you order that are supposed to be out in 3 months that don't come out for 6 months.
Jupiter's Legacy.
And you are going to get however many you ordered at the time, and there's really nothing you can do. And there's not really any other market that I know of where you have to predict what people are going to want in 3 to 6 months.
The biggest lesson I learned was watching all those young bloods come back from the stores.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like nobody, I mean, like literally, I'm not exaggerating, a truckload, 18-wheelers worth of these books coming back to the warehouse to go back to Image or whoever was going to eat them. I don't know who.
Yep.
It's crazy. I'm sorry, I'll let
that could be nice bonfires at the
That's more valuable that way.
We were stepping on them and throwing them around.
That'd be probably the best use out of those young.
Yeah, but no.
Fortunately, the industry has gotten far away from that now. So I think the stores that have survived have figured out how to order properly. So thank God, because it'd be rough.
But then people buy those stores and don't know how to order properly.
That is true.
The cycle continues.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Or sisters coming and telling you how to order.
That's another story.
That's a long story.
And the horror stories start. Dun dun dun.
Well, it is Thanksgiving. It is it is Halloween, so it makes sense. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Geekbox.net and comicsconspiracy.biz is where you can go to find these episodes and all their previous episodes. Go to forums at geekbox.net and the Facebook group. Just search for Geekbox. It's on there. As well as if you go to our Patreon, there's a forum on there you can talk to us. And I always put up a little thing before the episode, so go leave us some questions like we had tonight. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz is where Michael and all the rest of you can go and buy your digital comics and give us a little bit of cash. Now that they have their awesome subscription up and it's no longer like based on the web, you could just go click once to subscribe to a title. You get them automatically all the time. Don't have to worry. Don't ever have to go back to that site once you've done it once. So go subscribe and give us a little cash when you do that. You can also give us a little cash at patreon.com/comic-conspiracy. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support this podcast. And it breaks down between all the members of the podcast. So it gets these guys some cash as well, which is cool. Not just me. And we greatly appreciate everybody who's already supported us on Patreon. Yep, we're coming up on halfway to our first goal. So go check that out. A couple hundred, 250 more, and we'll hit our bringing back random picks. I know Brock's favorite part. He loves that. So. How many listeners do you have? How many listeners? 700 we have more Patreon backers than we have listeners. Not as much as the other podcasts on the Geekbox Network, but we do well for ourselves, and I understand well for a comic podcast. So I can tell you a lot more off air. ConspiratorBrock.com is Brock's website. Go check there. ComicsAndToKind.com is where you can see Omar, and that's his blog. And we'll probably have a couple more episodes with Omar, but he is moving to the great state of Hawaii pretty soon. So Omar is going, I think, sometime November. I don't know if he has an official date yet. Toby wants to move to Hawaii. No, I'm going in November also. You're just going to go? Yeah. Just to go? No, wedding. And I'll stay. I'll be like, Omar, I need a room. I need a couch. I will not leave this couch. This is officially mine. I will pee on it to mark my territory. Well, once the Hawaiian authorities hear this podcast, because they're also listeners, they're going to put you in quarantine because they know about your background.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully we'll have Omar on for a bare minimum one more episode before we go.
Yeah,
so
we have the big going away episode.
Yeah, hopefully a couple before he
That's
leaves.
going to be like a 3-hour podcast.
Well,
Does that involve us drinking?
Yes, of course.
A lot of
Drinking
profanity.
and live hero clicking.
The drinking will be after. The drinking will be after.
Or during?
Yeah. We're going to tie Ryan up to a chair so he can't tell us to not
If
drink.
the fans want, I will just hit record on a completely unedited, completely unorchestrated comic chat with Omar, with drunken Bryce. I cannot guarantee you'll understand anyone or hear anything. You'll just hear 3 hours of.
So what Patreon level is that?
So $10,000.
Could you do like drunken comic book history, where they would like go over a story cat, like the Dark
that'd
Phoenix?
be brilliant
They could
with
do the
Bryce.
Dark Phoenix saga.
I mean, that'd be
from beginning
brilliant
to
with
end.
You are amazing. I love you. You've just given us a spin-off episode for this podcast.
I would pay like money to hear everything about Dark Phoenix.
Can I just say,
beginning to
Drunk
end.
History is one of the funniest shows I've seen in a long time. That show is hilarious. If no one's here,
Challenge accepted.
other people haven't seen that.
We start next week.
But before you're waiting for us to get drunk on air, the Infinite Longbox podcast and Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension, go there and listen to them talk about shitty Doctor Who.
Did I miss out?
Including my response to Ryan's earlier comments.
Yeah, you missed me saying how shitty this last episode of Doctor Who was, especially.
Oh, it
No,
was.
he specifically said this entire season.
This season's been pretty shitty, but
This entire season's been horrible.
Is
I fully
Moffat still
agree.
writing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
but
but
can't do the show.
But this last episode was particularly
episodes.
shitty.
Look,
And
a whole
all of a
show.
sudden, my response is getting
He's
longer
done some really
and
good
longer.
gold episodes.
Yeah, you
and
can do
season 5 I
episodes.
thought was pretty
Oh,
good.
snap.
And season 6 onwards was some good ones, and then it just went.
Dude, I hate Matt Smith. I'm still at the Matt Smith stuff, but I'm
What do you
hating
mean he's
him.
still at the Matt Smith stuff?
I'm behind.
Yeah,
with
But you went through all the Tenant?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's,
I've
Oh yeah,
watched
you
it.
got it. You've seen the Golden Era.
he's watching my Blu-rays. I'm Ryan.
I've been,
No.
Yeah, sorry.
Did I miss out on the Avengers thing and the
did-
Constantine talk?
We
Did I
did.
miss
We
out on
did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, that's what happens
Next
when you
week.
show up an hour and a half
Where do you
late.
guys
Damn
get
it.
the time to watch all this shit?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Like,
I do
how the
nothing
hell
else.
Do you see these bags under my eyes?
It's
You
'cause-
sacrifice for your art.
it's 'cause we have kids and he's a savant.
I do nothing. I do nothing else. That's how I do it. Ryan Higgins, Ryan, Brock Sager, Comics and Decline, Larson, Bryce, Toby XI, now back on Twitter,
Yeah.
Toby XI,
It's me again.
and Insanity. It's not porn. And Insanity and Chaos.
I guess I
Somehow
never
wanna
actually sent
just
out
change it to
porn.
the
You can send out
savant.
porn now, and no
Well,
one.
yeah. I could blame it. I was like, I'm still hacked. Actually, I guess never sent out porn. I still got shut down by Twitter for some
Yeah.
reason. I must have been doing something good.
And don't forget to listen to Geekbox, the Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, and the All Talk podcast. And you can go listen to all those on there on our fabulous Geekbox network, all our other shows. So, and they all have Patreons too. All Talk doesn't, but the rest of them have do. So you can go give them money or give us money, whichever
No,
you
give
want.
us money.
Yeah, give us money. All right. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Hydra.